videos. It's a great way to see me age, and I can bring you up to date on my last 6 months or so. 2020, it means a lot, doesn't it? Either you have normal vision or you're keenly perceptive, neither of which I can attest to. But nonetheless, I hope you have a wonderful 2020. I want to touch on a couple things. I do always ask myself when I'm thinking of what I want to tell you, am I the only one these experiences happen to that I'm about to tell you? Am I the only one that observes these weird things? Maybe it's just my interesting life. But anyhow, let me get started. Let me start with our trip to Zion. Mendy and I went to Zion in November. Beautiful park. I highly recommend it. One morning I took off on a quick walk. Well, it wasn't so quick. It took several hours. I went up a hill with hundreds of people and kept going up. Lots of cutbacks because it was pretty vertical. It's called Angel's Landing. You ought to look this up on the internet. It is something out of this world. I'll get to why it's Angel's Landing. But after about an hour or so, I got to the top totally out of breath. And hundreds of people are sitting around at the top, and I'm wondering what this is all about. And I think, to be honest with you, they all were trying to find their courage because there was another half hour of the walk that I wasn't prepared for, and that was Angel's Landing. This is something you really got to check out. It's a chain the size of a huge rope, and you walk on the side of this cliff. It's not flat, it's sideways. And if you let go of the chain, sayonara. It's about 3,000 feet down. I really had to make a big decision. Basically, my decision was, did I want to take this last part of the hike that looked incredibly dangerous and suicidal, or did I want to live another 20 years? Well, I kind of compromised. I did 10 minutes of it, and that reinforced how stupid this was. And I turned around. I also turned around when I saw a guy coming back down. You all share the same chain. So when you pass each other, someone has to let go for a couple seconds and let the other person go by. He had an infant, like a newborn. Someone should have their head examined either at the Park Service or the people that actually do the whole thing. This was a very upsetting experience. I can say I did 10 minutes of it, but beyond the 10 minutes, I can't really tell you too much. But it's a beautiful park nonetheless. On a lighter note, I want to ask you all a question. What's up with all the holes in the blue jeans? I know this has been going around a long time, but it seems like I'm seeing it get worse and worse. I am totally seeing total thighs and knees and tibias, all kinds of parts of lower limbs that I never saw before. I have to imagine these garments are terribly expensive, but like, how do you pick one out? Do you go to the rack and like say, oh, that one has the least denim, I think I'll buy that one? Makes no sense to me. I just cannot figure this out at all. Which brings me to my almost favorite topic of all time, colonoscopies. I had one in September. It was my time to get it done, and let me tell you, it was a most enjoyable experience. I had almost forgotten what it was like. Maybe they have updated it since I had the last one. But they sit you, we go to the university, Pennsylvania and Philly, and they sit you in this chair that looks like you're flying first class on a 737. And you never leave the chair. The whole procedure is done while you're in the chair. And first the anesthetist comes in, and then the nurse puts in the IV. That was fine. And then, the GI specialist came in, a rather petite woman, and thank God she had small hands. That made me feel much better. A very cordial group. Next thing you know, you're in the suite where it's done, and they roll this chair back, so now it's almost like a gurney, and they just pump in the propofol, and that's it. I woke up, And there I was with a Coke in one hand, and Mindy said she barely had time to go get our hoagies, which we always get when we go over there. Boom, it was done. Next topic. Swimming squirrels. Yeah, that's what I said, swimming squirrels. We were at the house here in New Hampshire this summer, out in our little boat, and the squirrels are swimming across the lake. Honest to God, I had no idea what this is about. They're going from one side to the other and just jumping out on the shore and taking off. I didn't even know squirrels could swim. We checked this out on the internet because there, of course, had to be an answer. And it turns out the year before was something called a mast year. There were a lot of acorns, like an incredible amount of acorns. Well, more acorns mean more squirrels. The birth rate goes up. The bad news is the year following, there aren't so many acorns. That's when they start swimming across the lake looking for something to eat. So if you ever see swimming squirrels, that's a once in a lifetime event, I bet. I always have a religious segment. Now it's time to go into the religious neighborhood. It's more about life and philosophy than anything. But in the synagogue, we read out of the Torah. It's a scroll, and it's kind of like a VCR tape. When you get to the end of the year, you push rewind, and then you hit play and start all over again. So we were doing the book of Abraham, the story of Abraham, not long ago, Genesis. And this is a very unusual story. Here is the story of a man who was living in Ur. I've never been to Ur, but it sounds like a nice place. Although I have to tell you, it's a couple 100 miles south of Baghdad, so maybe it is not such a nice place. And so here's Abraham. At the time, his name was Avram. God changed it to Abraham later, but he was hanging out. He hangs out in his dad's idol shop, and I guess they sell these idols on Amazon Prime, or I should say Amazon Chaim, but sorry about that. But anyhow, so nice life, idol shop, selling stuff, whatever. And here's where it gets a little weird. God speaks to him. That's what he says God spoke to him. And God said, you got to move to Canaan. Not New Canaan, Canaan. And plus, I need you to enter into a covenant. A covenant. Isham covenant is what? A binding agreement of some kind. So, okay, he's going to move to Canaan, give up everything, because God told him to. Here's something interesting. At the age of 99, he and his servants also, as part of the covenant, had to get circumcised at the age of 99. If I was one of his servants, I think that's when I would give my notice. I don't know about you. So anyhow, the story goes on. He had to bind his son Isaac and sacrifice him. If you remember the story, it never got that far, but this is a lot to take in for, hearing a voice from God. So I guess the point of my story is when you read in the paper or online about someone that says they just spoke to God and they were commanded to do this and that, you just never know, really, do you? Okay. Now, I have a question for you. What's up with Gen X, Y, and Z? I mean, who came up with this model? I think it was rather poor planning, obviously, because now after Z, where do you go? I've been staying up late at night trying to think about this and what to suggest. You could go back to A. You didn't do A and all that up to X, so you could do that. Or you could start going into the double X, double Y, double Z. That's a possibility. And in fact, I kind of like that because with the XX, you could actually call that generation Dos X's. I like that a lot. So anyhow, whoever came up with this, bad planning, really. Oh, let's see. Not long ago, our dishwasher broke. Now, it happens. I had something called the Lowe's Protection Plan, It's a rather interesting thing. It didn't cost that much money, but a guy comes to the house under this plan, and the first thing he does is he gives me a screwdriver and says, you need to unscrew the dishwasher and pull it out from the wall. I mean, I looked at the guy and all I said was, isn't this your job? And he said, no, we can get sued, you know. So for breaking the Formica or whatever, the counter. So as much as I hated to do it, I unscrewed it and pulled it out from the wall, totally upset. And who knows, I could have broke the Formica, right? Then he gets under the dishwasher and he determines that the wires are all burned out and says, hey, you need to call an electrician. At this point, I repeated myself. I said, isn't this your job? He gave me this funny look, and that's kind of when we parted company. Eventually, I got it fixed, but that was a rather strange experience. I mean, I like the protection plan and all that, but something didn't make sense here. Now, not long after that, I was playing golf. I guess we were home in New Jersey. I was playing golf. A huge thunderstorm at the end of the day. I got home. A huge thunderstorm came and knocked out all the electricity. Actually, it turned out the electric was out for a day or so. So I did what most people would do. I laid down in my lazy boy with the Beagles and called it a night. And I was in my socks and boxers. That was it. And I figured the power would come on and that'd be that. It didn't, but all of a sudden, I had to be 2 or 3 hours later, I wake up with flashlights in my eyes, staring at the police. They said my alarm system had sent them an emergency message, and they just walked in the house. They walked in the house. And here I am in my underwear and socks. They said hi. Thank God it was 2 men. And, you know, we were very cordial and all. They even recognized me, the vet who walks the Beagles. But I have to tell you, they scared the hell out of me. And not to mention how embarrassed I was. But, you know, this is a very strange event. But I thought I'd kind of relay this to you. So, anyhow, something to think about for not too long. Now, some English language usage. We're always thinking about that, aren't we? What's up with ality? A-L-I-T-Y. Ality. Religiousity. What else can it? Commonality. That's a good one. Commonality. Dysfunctionality. Why do we need the extra letters? Do we get paid more to use the extra letters? And on another note, but you know, being an English major, I do have these questions. What's up with half bad? That's not half bad. Why don't we say half good? Like that's half good. Or what about half drunk? Half drunk. He was half drunk. Well, why don't we say, hey, he was half sober? Where did we draw the line here? Another thing, my driveway at home, my driveway in New Jersey, it's very narrow. Lots of trees, long, narrow driveway. We get deliveries all day long. Amazon, Chewy, UPS, the Post Guy, FedEx. We get a lot of FedEx stuff. You know, it's such a dangerous driveway. I spend half my day when I'm not at work getting these people to turn around and be able to go out the driveway without having to back up. Mindy says that I really have a calling here if I ever retire, because in between my naps, my trips to Costco, I could be like a traffic control guy in our driveway and help these people, you know, come and go. It's I guess it's something to look forward to. So I'm kind of at the end of my material. And, you know, I do wish you all a wonderful, happy new year, a 2020 that's filled with great clarity and, yes, normal vision. And hopefully you don't lose any body parts. And, you know, I just hope you have that urge to jump out of bed each day with knowing there's some meaning in your life. I really wish you this, because where there's meaning, there's happiness. So, those are my thoughts for the moment. I hope to speak to you in July, and I wish you a wonderful, wonderful 2020. Thank you.